Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishabam Subhadajikaya. So there's a Sri Simare Si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Bhavam Subhadajikaya. So there's a Sri Simar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today you're celebrating Diwali, so I expect you all to be full of light. We say, Om Jnana Timirandasya, that we were born in the darkness of ignorance. But our spiritual master has kindly opened our eyes, which were forced shut. It's one thing to try and awaken someone who's sleeping, but it's another thing to awaken someone who is awake, but they're forcing their eyes shut. So our situation was that we were deeply absorbed in material life with no understanding of the science of Lord Krishna. But just as Krishna sent his representative, Narada Muni, to rescue the fallen sons of Kuvera, similarly, Krishna is so merciful to us, sending us Srila Prabhupada and his representatives to rescue us from the darkness of ignorance. We did not know what our future was going to be, and many of us didn't care. We thought we were nice persons, honestly earning our living, having a nice family, but that's all we thought about. But by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, by the mercy of his representatives, we have light. So let's talk about Sri Damodarastaka. Kuvaratmajo Bada Murjaiva Yadva. Those two sons of Kuvera, rich boys, and they were devotees of Lord Shiva. So they were very proud. So proud that they just did whatever they like, with no concern for rules and regulations or proper behavior. So their problems got worse and worse in terms of their reactions, because they became so intoxicated by their wealth, by their status, and also by intoxication itself. The description of those two sons of Kuvera, Kuvaratmajo, is discussed by Pritchett Maharaj in the midst of the Damodar Leela. Because as you know, the Damodar Leela involves Damodar knocking down the twin Arjuna trees. Those twin Arjuna trees had made their appearance in Vrindavan Dham at the gate to Nanda Maharaj's home. And those twin Arjuna trees are described as being bigger than the house of the cowherd men. They had good fortune. They took birth as trees in Braj, and they were called by the same name as one of Krishna's Gopas. Krishna has a Gopa friend named Arjuna. So the trees received that same name, the twin Arjuna trees. So they were knocked down, as you know, by Krishna pulling the mortar. And we discussed yesterday about what happened as Krishna proceeded toward the Yamala Arjuna trees. He was thinking, my mother has planned that I'm tied to this wooden grinding mortar, and therefore I can't do any more mischief. But just watch. I have more mischief on my agenda. So he proceeded toward the Yamalarjun trees. Remember, we discussed yesterday how Mother Yashoda wasn't worried. She had gone to do her household affairs. She thought her little Krishna was safe, right? She had a peaceful moment as a mother. Of course, she is completely peaceful, but she's often filled with transcendental anxiety in maternal love because Krishna does things that make her worry. He's crawling on the ground. There's so many sharp tools and implements on the ground. Monkeys and other creatures. Oh, she's always thinking of Krishna. So the anxiety that she's in seems to be material, but no, it is purely spiritual. So now, with Krishna tied to the mortar, she can tend to household affairs. She's confident the knots are tight, the wooden mortar is too heavy, Krishna can't move it, he can't move with it anywhere, and there are other little cowherd boys there, right? They'll report Krishna if he tries to do anything wrong. But Krishna's thinking, I'm not through yet. So he proceeds toward the Yamala Arjuna trees, remember? Moving slowly. Number one, he doesn't want to make a loud sound, so Mother Yashoda comes running. And number two, he doesn't want the mortar to become loose from the knots, so he moves slowly. And most importantly, we discussed yesterday, he's a child. This is Bal Leela. So he does everything like a child, but with an inconceivable result. By his doing so, this preserves the sweetness of the Leela. And that's the essence of Braj. Sweetness, not opulence and awe and reverence. So you know how the two Arjuna trees came crashing down. But while Krishna, before he advances toward the trees, as Parikshit Maharaj hears it, Parikshit Maharaj has a question to Shukadeva Goswami. How did these two sons of Kuvera become trapped in the body of a tree in the first place? With a heart full of emotion, of bhava, Parikshit Maharaj is making this inquiry to Shukadeva Goswami. And remember, Parikshit Maharaj, he knows, I got in trouble by a curse, but it doesn't seem like my situation is as bad as what happened to these sons of Kuvera. They received the wrath of Narada Muni. Parikshit Maharaj simply had a little Brahmin boy angry at him. Brahmin boy Shringi. So he's asking Shukadeva Goswami, what brought about the two sons of Kuvera being situated in the bodies of a tree? I'd like to know that. So Shukadeva Goswami begins to describe the scene that was the culmination of Nalakuvara and Manigriva's degradation. They were, please understand, they were at a holy spot in the Mandakini Ganga River, somewhere in the vicinity of Mount Kailash. This is a holy place. But what were they doing in a holy place? Drunk. So drunk their eyes were rolling. What were they drunk on? The Acharyas say two possibilities. One is liquor from the churning of the milk ocean. The other is the demigod Varuna sent some special intoxicant for them. In any case, wherever you decide the liquor came from, these two boys were completely out of it. As they say in Western terminology, they were totally wasted. They're in the river, showing you that not everyone who bathes in the Ganga becomes purified. Ultimately, things depend on your consciousness, your mentality. They were in the Ganga not for purification, they were in it for sinful activity. They were totally unclad, sporting with drunk young girls, with no care for anything. So much so that, as you know, Narada Muni happened by. Now, wherever Narada Muni goes is auspicious. So you could say that he's sent by the Supreme Lord. Narada Muni wanted to do something about the sinful condition of these two sons of such a major Devata, Kuvera. So he happened upon the scene. And what did he see? He saw these unclad two boys and lots of girls playing in the river, drunk. And the boys didn't even flinch when Narada Muni appeared on the scene. They were so intoxicated. the ladies, the young girls, had the common sense to cover up. They scrambled to put on some clothes. But Nalakuva and Manigriva couldn't care less. So this total carefree attitude of theirs really impressed Narada Muni. He decided he has to do something about this. And he spoke 5 verses describing the ill effects of too much wealth on the character. You see, there are 4 opulences that you'll see in this world, as Queen Kunti Devi outlines herself. Janmaishvarya, Shrutashivya, Edamana, Madakpuman. These 4 opulences make you mad, and you can't call out the holy name with feeling. You're blinded. Janma, birth in a successful or wealthy family, aristocratic family. Aishvarya, lots of money. Shruta, lots of learning. And Shri, personal beauty. Of these 4, the possession of too much wealth is the most dangerous. Because you just don't care for anyone or anything. You think you're totally independent. You don't have any worries. You can do whatever you like. And the last thing you'll choose to do is associate with a saintly person. So Narada Muni is considering. Because intoxication, the acharyas point out in their commenting on this Leela, intoxication is the most deadly. The problem, the sinful effects begin with, number 1, illicit association with the opposite sex. Worse than that is gambling, because gambling brings about quarreling and suffering because so much money is lost. Worse than the effect of gambling is intoxication, because with intoxication you become so mad you don't even care about your own body. So all these factors are there in Narada Muni's consideration. What to do about someone who is mad with wealth? Narada Muni considered returning such a person or bringing such a person to poverty is the best cure. Because when you're poor, you have less facility to offend others. And you're more sensitive to the suffering of others. You know what it feels like to be kicked. So you should hesitate as a poor person to kick others. So Narada Muni is thinking that these boys, Nalakuva and Manigriva, cannot think. And he gives you some proof of that. Narada Muni points out, who does this body actually belong to? I wonder how many of you have ever considered that. Who does my body actually belong to? You spend so much time at work, right? You could say the body belongs to the employer. Did you ever think about that? Or you could say the body belongs to your mother, to your father. Or the body belongs to your sons who will burn your body at the time of death. So think about it. Who does your body belong to? So Narada Muni's point, of course, is why commit so many sinful activities? Why waste your human form of life when actually this body is up for grabs in terms of who possesses it, who's the real owner? And then what's the destination of the body? You may not like to think about it, but Narada Muni wants you to. Krimi vid Basma. The destination of the body is to be eaten by worms or if you die in a forest and no one's around, your body is eaten by wild forest animals, dogs, whatever, so it becomes stool. Or the body is burned in the funeral fire. So its destination is worms, stool, or ashes. So why is Narada Muni talking like this? We don't want to think about these things. But Narada Muni wants you to think about these things. This is the destination of the material body. So why commit sinful activities and become so mad with wealth like these two boys? So Narada Muni decided to curse them while simultaneously giving them a blessing. So this is what you have to keep in mind. It's a simultaneous curse blessing. And of course, it is the mercy of Narada Muni. All right, you'll be trees for 100 years, the time of the Devatas. But you'll be trees in Braj. And ultimately, you'll be freed from the tree bodies by Krishna himself. And while you're being trees in Braj, you'll be doing service to the Brajbasis. You'll be providing leaves and wood and branches and shade. Remember Krishna praising the trees as he wandered through the forests of Vrindavan with Balaram and the cowherd boys? Ahoy Shambharam Janma Sarvapranupajjivanam. How glorious it is to take birth as a tree. Glorious to take birth as a tree? But Krishna is saying, just see how these trees are giving everything. They give their wood, they give their bark, they give their sap, they give their roots, they give their leaves, they give their flowers, their fruits. Any kind of weather, 24/7, the trees are always giving. Even they're just giving shade. So Krishna points out, the trees in Vrindavan, they're like saintly persons. Because a real saintly person is always giving. So Narada Muni gave Manigriva and Nalakubar a chance to be a tree in Braj. And they could do service to the Brajbasis. And obviously that seva to the residents of Vrindavan further prepared them for seeing Krishna face to face. So in the Damodarastic prayer, Kuvaratmajo Bada Murjaiva Yadva Tayamochital Bhakti Bhajal Krital Cha, we're praying, oh Krishna, you're bound up, yet you set those two boys free. The one who is bound up is setting someone else free. How can that be? If you're bound up, what can you do for someone else? But when Krishna, as Bal Gopal, was bound up, he can do the most inconceivable things. He can set someone free, not only from tree bodies, but from the whole material existence. Tata prema bhaktam sakame prayascha namokshe graho mesti damodareha. The two sons of Kuvera were not simply freed from tree bodies, they were not simply reestablished in their position in the heavenly planets, but they got prema bhakti. Their material life was finished. So the devotee is praying, just like you gave that to them, please give it to me. We don't want liberation or freedom from material existence. What we want is devotional service. Freedom from material existence comes along automatically with devotional service. Therefore, we focus on the devotional service and everything else comes along with it. So the devotee is praying that I don't want liberation. I just want to participate in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, if you have devotional service, you're already back to Godhead. You don't have to directly aspire to go back to Godhead. You directly aspire for devotional service, and then you're perfectly situated. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmani Srede Bhavatan Bhaktir Aitikitve. Birth after birth I don't mind as long as I have service to Krishna's lotus feet. So sometimes this is hard for us to understand how devotional service is the perfection. That's all that's going on in Vrindavan. Krishna is 100% the center of all activities, all thoughts, all plans, even all dreams. So the sons of Kuvera are pushing you to think about what it is you want. We were discussing the other day how there is no greater mistake in life, it is said, than to forget what it is you're trying to achieve. So you have to ask yourself that question. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do with your life? You may say, oh, I'm just doing what my family says, or I'm just doing what I think I'm supposed to do. But you have a responsibility to use your short human form of life to attain the highest good, and that is prema bhakti. And that's what Nalakuvara and Manigriva were awarded through a cursed blessing of Narada Muni. And they were grateful. After they were set free from the tree body by Krishna, they offered prayers to Krishna, and in those prayers they even expressed gratitude to Narada Muni. Thank you for cursing us. Have you ever done that? Thank someone for cursing you? The curse of Narada Muni was the greatest opportunity. Kuvaratmajal Bhada Murtyai Vayadva. They're bound up. Yet they're bound up in tree bodies, yet they're set free from Krishna, who is bound to a grinding mortar. It's very ironic. Queen Kunti Devi points out in her prayers in the first canto, fear itself is afraid of Krishna, yet Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda. What's going on here? So the presentation of the history of Nalakuvar and Manigriva is prompted by the questions of Pritchett Maharaj. His heart is melting hearing about Krishna tied to a mortar and knocking down the two Arjuna trees. So he wants to know how this all came about. Because, as we discussed already, Pritchett Maharaj himself was cursed to die in 7 days. But he took that as an opportunity to increase his immersion in hearing and chanting about Krishna. What did Pritchett Maharaj say in the first canto? I've been cursed to die by the bite of the snake bird. Let the snake bird come, I don't care. I simply want to go on hearing the glories of Krishna. This attitude seems difficult for us to understand, doesn't it? Pritchett Maharaj, you should be worried, you should be in anxiety, 7 days and you're finished. What about your family? What about your kingdom? He immediately left all that. This is a symptom of Pritchett Maharaj's greatness. He walked away from it all at a moment's notice. His only concern was, Shukadeva Goswami, don't stop speaking the glories of Krishna. Because As described in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Swami was concerned. Pritcha Maharaj, aren't you thirsty? You haven't drank anything yet. But Pritcha Maharaj is thinking, oh no, once before I was thirsty. I'm not going to repeat that again. He didn't want Shukadeva Goswami to stop narrating the nectarian pastimes of the Lord for any reason. So therefore his attitude is so stunning, the attitude of Pritcha Maharaj. Snake bird is supposed to kill me in 7 days. Let it come. Let the snake bird bite. My only desire is to be in the association of devotees, hearing the glories of Krishna. And as Krishna says to himself, wherever his pure devotees are glorifying him, that's where he is. More so than in Vaikuntha. He's at that place. So we want to have an assembly of sincere devotees who are hearing and talking about Krishna. And that way Krishna is present. We don't want to misuse our human form of life by over-immersion in material affairs. Nalakuva and Manigriva are showing you the results of that over-immersion in material activities. So Srila Prabhupada is very emphatic in pointing out in his purports that the present so-called civilization we have today is too much focused on economic gain. So much so that they have no idea what the real goal of human life is. They become mad by economic affairs. Everyone is thinking, get the money. Whether you have money or don't have money, get the money. It dominates everything. And when you get the money, you can buy, you can invest, you can have prestige, you can have security. So this is the kind of society we live in. And how is most of the wealth spent? On illicit activities. Intoxication, meat eating, gambling, lust. That's where all the money is going to. And then spending so much money on the military to protect the sinful activities of this society as compared to that society. So this is not real human civilization. And all this sinful activity produces so much pride. Narada Muni explains that the overaccumulation of wealth produces pride more than does personal beauty, high education, or aristocratic birth. The worst thing for pride is wealth. But everyone wants more and more money. They don't understand more and more money brings more and more pride. And more pride brings the greatest downfall. Now, what is the Western mentality? The Western mentality is, why bother Nalakuva and Manigriva? Let them go through whatever they're supposed to go through, sporting with the young girls, drunk, unclad. They'll get it out of their system. That's the Western mentality. I often explain that in the wild Western world, the strategy is Kama Bintu. And in India, the strategy is Kama Sindhu in the West. In India, it's Kama Bindu. One drop, Kama at a time. One drop in the fire. One drop of ghee in the fire. Kama Bindu. Whereas in the Western world, like Australia, it's Kama Sindhu. This ocean of lust. But the bhakti life means no kama. Simply the pure desire to serve Krishna. Whether it's Kama Bindu or Kama Sindhu, both are problematic. You would think that when there's a blazing fire and you just put one drop of ghee at a time in it, there'll be satisfaction. The fire will be satisfied. No. You put one drop of ghee into the fire wants more. You have to put another drop, and then another drop, and then another drop. The fire simply gets bigger and bigger. So the Western style is different. It's the Kama Sindhu. Just put an ocean of Kama lust onto the fire. And of course that is immediately destructive. So whether it's the Kama Bindu, gradually destructive, or the Kama Sindhu, overnight destruction, nothing works. So these two sons of Kuvera were supposed to live demigod life. Yet they're committing sinful activity at a holy spot in a holy river. They weren't getting purified by being in the Ganga. The Mandakini is a branch of the Ganga. They weren't purified by being there. Their mentality was sinful. So it was their greatest fortune that Narada Muni comes along. Was it by chance? There's actually nothing by chance. Wherever Narada Muni or a person like Narada Muni goes, they're creating opportunities. That's purposeful. Wherever Narada Muni goes is auspicious. The result of his cursing those two boys is that they were free from material existence, yes, but most of all, and this is what the Dhammadarastic prayer is about, they received the gift of Prema Bhakti. And so the prayer is expressing, we want that too. We don't need the liberation. It's not important. We want the Prema Bhakti, the love of Krishna. So the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, Nalakuva, they had Narada Muni. Who do we have? We have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives. Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas. So we're not at any loss. In fact, there's no one more merciful than Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In an age, this age of Kali, in which no one knows anything about Krishna. Even India, people, they don't know Krishna. They're all confused. He's the Hindu forest love god. He's the he cheated on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He danced with others' wives. Even in India, so much misunderstanding about Krishna. How many of you, before coming to Radha Gopinath Mandir, you understood Krishna in truth? No. Most of you, before coming to Radha Gopinath Mandir, you came from India to Australia, you were just career focused. You're here to make the money. As the boys from Nepal here in the temple tell me, we came because in Australia you can make more money in one day than you can in the whole month in Nepal. So that's why we came. But how did you get the greatest opportunity to be engaged in Krishna's service, to hear about Krishna, to talk about Krishna? That's because of Krishna in his most merciful presence as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I often tell the story of how I was sitting right in front of Srila Prabhupada, maybe 40 centimeters away, and he was speaking his shortest lecture ever. His lecture went on for 1.5 minutes. We were all gathered in the temple room in Atlanta, Georgia, and they had beautiful big Gaurnataya deities. And so Prabhupada was singing, instead of Jai Radha Madhava, he was singing Padama Karuna Bahundwijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. How those two, Chaitanya and Nityananda, are the supreme oceans of mercy, the essence of all incarnations, Sabha Avatar, Sar Shiromani, Kevala Ananda Kanda. He would sing that instead of Jai Radha Madhava to start the class. And then he began speaking about how no one knows who is Krishna. Yet Lord Chaitanya and his associates are giving the taste of love of Krishna even to those who don't even know about him. How is that possible? If you're going to love someone, you need to know that person. But Mahaprabhu is giving the taste of love of Krishna to people who have no idea who is Krishna. So then he began saying, just take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and be happy. And his voice started cracking. I saw the tears shoot from his eyes like shot from a syringe. And he stopped the lecture, came down from the Vyasasana, went to his room, and spoke nothing about what happened. So we should never forget that we can understand Damodar Leela, we can understand Bhagavatam, we can understand who is Krishna because of the mercy of Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, what would our position be in the next life? We were totally absorbed in ignorance. Some of us in a very nice way, highly educated way, successful careers, nice family, but not following any regulative principles of spiritual life, not even understanding the need for spiritual life. This was our situation. So just as Narada Muni saved the sons of Kuvera, similarly, Srila Prabhupada and his merciful representatives have saved us. Just think what your situation would have been in the next life. You don't know what your next destination would have been. We never thought about the seriousness of the human endeavor. We never considered that. We just thought, I'm a nice person. That's all that counts. I'm doing my job. I'm earning a good salary. I have some investments. Life is fine. But by the mercy of Narada Muni's representatives, we're awakened from the darkness and our life has become full of light, the torchlight of knowledge. So it takes a while to fully understand what Srila Prabhupada is presenting in this 10th canto history of Manigriva Nalakuva. We think, well, what's so bad about making money, right? There's nothing inherently bad about making money if you're using the money for the proper purpose. If you're practicing spiritual economics. What is spiritual economics? Go to work to give. Go to work to give yourself a bhakti lifestyle, to give it to your family, and to give it to as much of the world as your resources allow. Go to work to give. That's spiritual economics. And what is material economics? I'm going to work to get for me, get for bodies in relation to me, and I'll give a little bit of charity. That's it. I have no idea what the higher purpose of life is. I have no idea what is devotional service, what is bhakti. So money making in of itself is not bad. Kubera is the treasurer of the Devatas. But his sons went off the rails because they were proud of their father's wealth and they didn't care about sinful activities. They didn't care about anyone's opinion. So we want you all to understand the real wealth is your human form of life. And then, if you can make money for devotional purposes, go right ahead. Give your bhakti culture to your family. Of course, you have to give it to yourself first, and give it to as much of the world as your resources allow. Can help reconstruct the Radha Gopinath Mandir. You can go to work for that reason. So, we are not against money making in of itself, but what is the purpose of it all? And make sure you don't lose sight of the spiritual value of the human form of life. Over endeavor means you're trying for something in such a way that your spiritual practices suffer. So yes, chant Hare Krishna. You want to make money? Make money for Krishna. That is the cautionary wisdom given in the 10th canto about Nalakuva and Manigriva. Kuvaratmajo Bada Murjaiva Yadva Tvayamuchita Bhakti Bhajal Gritaj. The Prema Bhakti. That's what we want. It is not that Nalakuva and Manigriva were simply liberated from material existence. Their real achievement was loving devotional service to Krishna. That's what we want. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.